Welcome back F11 members to part 2 of the Fundamentals of Post-Production videos for issue 62, March 2017. On the screen in front of us we have the 3 images that we used Lightroom to convert, open here in Photoshop. What we did in part 1 was correct the barrel distortion in the image and prepare these 3 images of varying darkness to be merged subsequently, and that's what we're going to do now. On the right we have the image exposed and converted and processed for the shadow area. On the middle we have the same image, but the same raw image that has been converted into a TIFF, looking at the highlights and the mid-tone areas in the cathedral. And on the left we have a second image which was exposed for the sky, solely for that. And I'm now going to exposure merge these 3 images together. So what we're going to do is use the technique of layer masking and really try and break down in a logical manner what we're doing. It's very easy to get confused when working with layers and masks, so let's take it slowly and steadily and just really analyze what we're doing. So the first thing I'm going to do is stack the 3 images on top of each other. The way I'm going to start by taking the middle image here, and I'm going to select all of it, I'm going to edit, and I'm going to copy, and I'm now going to select that, the brightest image, and Command V to paste the mid-tone image on top of that. I can now close down this image. I'm finished with it. I'm now going to select all of the darkest tone. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste that on top of the other 2. Command V. I can now close down the dark image there. Don't need to save it. And if I bring in my layers tablet here, what you can see is I've got the 3 layers on top of each other. The darkest on top, and if I click the eye off on the left, you can see through to the mid-tone beneath. If I click off the eye on the layer 1, the middle layer, you can see the bright mid-tone, the brightest layer underneath the base. So what we're going to do now is apply layer masks, which will enable us to see just the bit of these layers that we want to, seeing through to the layer underneath. And I'm going to turn my attention to this mid layer. So I'm just going to switch the eye off on that layer 2, the top layer. I'm now going to select layer 1, and now using the lasso tool here in Photoshop, I'm just going to select the area of this layer that I want to see, and that is all but the dark. Essentially what I'm doing here, and I'm not being too accurate with this for reasons that will become clear shortly, I'm selecting the shadow area of this layer. Okay, draw around there. Okay, now I want to invert this selection because I want to see the bright area of this picture, and see through to see the dark area of the layer beneath. So if I go up here and go to select and inverse, okay, that's now selected the bright area. And now what I want to do is feather that selection. So if I go select and select modify feather, and I'm going to select a feather radius of about 250 pixels. Will give me a nice soft edge to that selection. Now what I want to do is apply a mask so that I can only see the area of this picture, the bright area that I want to, and I can see through to the brighter layer beneath. So if I go up here to layer mask, and I'm now going to ask it to reveal my selection. Now what you can see is here I've applied this layer, and basically the white is where the layer mask is in operation, allowing me to see that bit of the darker layer, and the black is masked, enabling me to see through that bit to the brighter area underneath. Now the beauty of using this technique is now I can modify that layer mask. I can modify the edge of that layer mask to add or detract from what I can see beneath. Now if I zoom in on this picture a bit, what we've got here, the layer mask is working pretty well, but if you can see up here, there's a bit of darkening of the top of the cathedral there and here, and actually I need to darken down the bottom of the cathedral there. So what I'm going to do is make sure the layer mask is selected, and I'll go to the paintbrush, and what I can do is paint either in black or white to add to or detract from the area of the mask is affecting. So what I want to do is actually paint firstly in black, because I want to actually see more of the brighter part of the image beneath up here on the top of the church there. So I make sure down here you can see it's black and white. If I press my X on my keyboard, it switches between the two. I want to paint with black. I'm going to go up here and check my opacity is down quite low, around about 11%. I'm going to put it around about 15% there. I can alter the size of my brush here. I'm using a new graphics tablet here, by the way, so just getting used to that, but I'll be showing you how I use that next month. And now you can see I'm painting away where the mask is approaching, just making sure this edge here is how I want to be it, so that we're not getting too much of a dark top to the church there. Now I could spend a lot of time fine-tuning that, but what I really want to do here now, because we haven't got all day, is just show you the principle of what I'm doing. I'm going to press the X key, so now I'm painting in white, and I'm actually adding to where the mask is affecting, and actually just painting in down here just to darken down the bottom of those columns a touch. Just it's this kind of fine-tuning that will make a big difference to the picture, so you don't get these really visible transitions. And you can see hopefully what I'm doing. What's really important is that you step back and think about what you're doing here. So I'm basically refining the edge of the mask to make sure that we've got a smooth, harmonious join between what we can see of the bright image underneath, the bright layer underneath, and the middle toned layer in the middle. Okay, clearly I need to spend a bit more time on that, but let's just zoom back out and adjust and think about what we're going to do now with the top layer. Okay, select that and switch it back on. I want to just select the sky, and for this I'm going to not use the lasso tool, but because I've got such a distinctive edge here, I'm actually going to use the quick selection tool. Okay, so now what I want to do, just think about what we're doing. All I want to see of this layer is not the street, is not the church, but just the sky. So make sure that layer is highlighted. Now I use the quick selection tool to just move around the area that I want of the sky, and it's really picked up immediately that sky and made that selection. Just zoom in and check, and actually it's been a little bit over enthusiastic down here and taken a bite of the church as well. So what I'm going to do now is come up here, and you can see there's the paintbrush, and there's a plus and a minus sign here, and I can actually push the edge of that back. It's a very clever tool, this. Well, I've gone a bit too far, so now I click on the plus, just fine tune that edge down there. Okay, that's done a good selection. Now normally I would be feathering these kind of selections, that's what I often do, but because we've got such a definite edge here, I'm going to experiment with not doing so, because it's a very precise selection I have here. Zoom back out again, and now what I'm going to do is come up here and again apply a layer mask so that I can see. That mask will enable me to see just the sky, while it will apply a mask in the form of the black bit of the mask to the bottom, the church and the street, allowing me to see the brighter layers underneath. So if I come up here again, layer, layer mask, reveal selection, and there it is. Now it's done a good job of selecting that sky, and what's more, if I zoom in, you can't see any kind of edge. It's really worked quite well. But clearly the image looks a bit unreal at the moment, not quite how I want it. So I'm now going, it just looks a bit false really. So I'm going to fine tune things a bit here. So I'm selecting my middle layer there, and I'm actually going to darken that down a touch. Image adjustments, curves, bring that in. And I'm just going to use that curve to darken down. Just make sure I've got the right. So what I want to do is just darken down this middle layer there, so that the whole image looks more believable. At the moment, the church is too bright and the sky is too dark, so I'm going to darken that down a touch. Okay, and I'm now going to go back and look at the top layer there, the sky, image adjustments, curves, and I'm actually going to go the other way with the sky, brighten it a touch, because really the image just was looking too extreme, unbelievable. Almost, dare I say it, HDR. Click on that, OK. Now clearly I still need to modify my layer masking. I'm going to have to continue to use the paintbrush tool to just make sure that the edge between these layers is, the selection, the blending is right. But I think hopefully you're getting the idea of what I'm doing here. The thing I'm also going to do when I'm finished is get rid of this white edge down the side of the image using the content aware fill. So just to show you how that's done, I'm now going to flatten the image. I'm not finished, but it's going to take a while to do all that painting, so I just want to show you how this is done. Flatten the image, and now I'm going to use the Magic Wand tool here. There, zoom in, select the white, there, and now just expand that selection a little bit. Select Modify, expand by a few pixels, just 2 pixels I'm going to say, OK. And now if I go up here to Edit and Fill, and I ask it to Content Aware Fill that, it gets rid of that white bit. Command D to deselect, and now I do the same with the white bit on the left. Select Modify the image and expand again by a couple of pixels. Now come here to Edit, Fill, Content Aware Fill, and it's taken care of those white bits. Command D to deselect. Okay, so quite a complex image to process this month. I'm now just going to show you the finished article again. There it is. I've spent a fair bit of time just fine-tuning the blending of the layers there, and I think that looks it's an image I'm pleased with. Layer masking is such a useful technique, and it's really quite important to really step back and consider what you're doing in a logical fashion. Okay, hope that's useful for this month, and we'll see you next month with more post-production video tutorials.